walk your property. We'll even give you advice to help sell your home, even if you do not list with us. Onward Sales Chattanooga Homes.
Oh, we have come this morning to one of our absolute favorite places in town. Can you guess where we are? We are at Good Kinsmen in North Chattanooga talking with Vicki Lawrenson.
Good morning.
I love opening that door. It's like the magical jingle of my life coming into your store.
Oh, thank you so much.
It just makes me happy.
Makes me happy to be here and makes me happy to have you here.
So Vicki specializes in all things home, in the kitchen and cooking and making your whole family feel comforted and supported and nourished. So this morning, though, we're talking kind of some practical sides of the kitchen, and that's bread making, because you have seen people coming into your store and they're almost in tears because they're overcomplicating it.
Right,
Is that right?
Right, yeah. And I just, I thought it would be really great as we get into the baking season to kind of talk about, like, you don't need complicated things. I mean, they're great, to get all the tools and all the fancy things, but really, bread's made with flour, water, and salt, and you just don't need anything more than that. So I thought we'd just kind of go over some of the fun things that we have. And kind of just go through what people might want to do this year.
One thing I'm noticing, you mentioned flour, water, and salt, but there seem to be different types of flour, and you've got those here.
This is a new line that we're going to be carrying. It's called Hayden Mills. They produce flour actually from seeds that they got from Europe, and so they're non-GMO, they're great, but all of these flours are really lovely, and they're in small enough portions that you can try different ones to see what you like. You don't have to worry about it. But they make an amazing product, so we'll be stocking those for the holiday.
Okay, so does that mean we all have people who've traveled overseas and they'll say, you know what, I was in Italy or France and I could eat all the bread and pasta I wanted and never gained a pound. Is the secret in that flour?
The secret is in these types of seeds, yes.
Okay.
And, we're lucky enough here in Tennessee because there's a co-op here in town called I think Greater Grains, and then there's also a bunch of organic flour producers here in Tennessee. So this is starting to become a much more prevalent here in the United States.
Okay, you want things, though, I mentioned the word accessible. So yes, you like beautiful, but you like useful as well.
I do.
And you don't want people to be intimidated in their own kitchen. So some of these things that you have here are not even expensive items to buy.
No, they're things that'll help you. If you start making bread, I always tell people, just start with something really simple, make a flatbread. It's flour, water, little heat, and then you go. You don't have to make it, if you want to get all the way up to making, really heavy doughy, yeasted breads and flavors and all those things, that's great. But to start with, this is a dough whisk. This is a really fun little tool. What it does is it reduces the heat from your hand when you're stirring dough mixtures up. So it works even if you make biscuits. So we've got two different sizes.
Because you don't want to overheat the dough.
Right. You want to keep it cool. And it also just reduces the stickiness. A bench scraper.
So that's if you've ever made the ball of dough and then you have to...
Well, you use this to cut the dough, to scrape the bottom. It can be used to pick up ingredients. I mean, I use one of these all day in my house. But they're great. They're $10, very inexpensive. These are our proofing forms. This is one that I love. You can wash. So once you get into the more complicated bread making, you'll find that you have to dry yours out. And I brought mine from home that's 13 years old. It still has flour in it because that's what you do. You leave the flour in it. But this has to dry 3 days, 2 to 3 days after I bake, before I can put the next one in.
So I'm going to put a pause because she talks about this stuff because she lives it every single day. So you can just speak effortlessly.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No. It's a good thing because this is why you want to come and talk with her, because you want to guide people in the right direction. Before we got on camera, you said buy the right things, buy good stuff.
Right.
So this you've had for 13 years.
Yeah.
Using it all the time.
All the time.
And this is not expensive.
These are not expensive either, and these are great because if you make a lot of bread, you have a bigger family, maybe you're making a loaf every day, you can throw this in the dishwasher and then use it the next day. So it's really, really great.
Ooh, let's talk about making it every day. Because kind of what inspired you were these TikTok trends where you're seeing people do things that look great on the video, but they're not practical.
Right.
So you were telling me something about...
Well, I think one of the saddest things I see is people come in here and they're trying to make a gallon of sourdough starter because they've seen it on TikTok, and you don't need a gallon of sourdough starter. You need a very small little jar of sourdough starter, unless you're have a bakery and you're making hundreds of loaves. You don't need that much starter, but it looks cool on the TikTok videos and the Instagram videos to have this big goopy jar,
Right.
but you don't need that. And the same thing with like products that they use to bake them. They sell a lot of different products. All you need is a baking sheet and an oven. I mean, or even the top of your stove, which is that right there.
What is this pretty thing?
Those are baker's cloches. So they come when you're making like baguettes or something where you just use the flour cloth to shape the doughs to let them rise.
Okay.
So it's just a very simple tool. Doesn't cost a whole lot. It doesn't add little fibers to the bread. So it's a canvas style cloth.
You had a beautiful red piece that was out. You called it a
Bread cloche.
A bread cloche.
And it has just a dome and then a bottom part that heats up, and you just put the loaf in here and then you put the lid on top and you bake it, and it creates a little mini oven. And
So-
that can be, that's not something you need right away, but it's something that you can like work for.
So there's a joke around the television station that like once we hit like September, I think Labor Day, I began talking about Christmas gift ideas. But these are great Christmas gift ideas.
they
because I
are.
bet there's somebody in your life who's beginning the baking trend.
They are.
And you can pick these up.
Yeah, and we'll be starting our classes back up in January. But if they can start gathering some of the basic tools. So really to start, you need a good bowl. And so we've got some examples of some really good bowls. This bowl is great because it's weighted on the bottom, so you can do a lot of stirring. You can use a wood bowl. You can also use just a plain glass bowl or a ceramic bowl, anything that you want. Your flour, some water, some salt, a little dough whisk, and you're ready to go. So it can start very simply, and then you can move up to something more complicated.
But I'll end it with this because we all have like our ultimate dream out there. So I mentioned that Vicki has just gorgeous things. When you come in the door here at Good Kinsmen, my eye went right to this stunning cake plate.
Yeah,
So for the woman who has everything, you can have that cake plate.
That's right.
Can you tell us how much it costs?
This one is a little around $900, but it is a beautiful handmade cake stand. The bottom part is hand molded. It's hand ceramic. It's got hand painted leaves on it, and the top is etched by hand. The dome is blown as a mouth blown
Wow.
dome, and then the apple that's on the top is also mouth blown. So the entire piece is made by hand by several artisans.
I just wanted to mention it as we said goodbye because I love that you're a woman who can celebrate the $900 cake plate, but even more, you can celebrate the $10
Bench scraper.
bench scraper. So you will find her at Good Kinsmen. They're over on Cherokee Boulevard in North Chattanooga. There's their information on your screen. Shop, enjoy, and you'll see when that little bell rings when you walk in the door why we love it so much.
Thank you.
The people and places